What's up, guys? My name's Hudson, and I'm here with Ryuji, Peace by Vegan, and I want to talk about today a message that is by far my most frequently asked question, and I'm sure one of Ryuji's most frequently asked questions as well, and that is being vegan and also being a vegan activist in speaking up for the animals while still being in high school, because I am a junior in high school this year, so hopefully I can provide some value to you guys and provide a different perspective. And Ryuji is just out of college, so he's not too far out of.
Not too old yet. I'm not in high school, but I just graduated college, so I'm not too far off. I'm still a kid figuring out my life, basically. So I think we're gonna get some cool insights.
We're gonna talk about just basically being vegan in high school, being an activist in high school, and how to deal with if you are receiving peer pressure or bullying for being vegan, and if you are afraid to go vegan, and if you are not too sure about doing activism if you are still in high school.
I just love this music. I don't know if you can hear it in the video. Okay. Anyways, the biggest thing for me is really understand perspective, and my biggest advice to you is to really have a wider perspective on what's going on here, because what I think is that when there are just like certain people around you and all those people kind of hate on you or bully you, which can be the case in school. I remember that when I was in high school, middle school, it felt like school was basically my entire life. You spend so much time in school. The majority of your time you spend with people who are in school with you, with your teacher, and so on and so forth. And the thing you have to realize is that that's not the whole world at all. In fact, there's so many people around the world who care. See, for the 10 people in school who are getting on your ass for being vegan, there are a million people out in the world who are going to support you for being vegan. So I think it's really important to understand that, because for me, that's definitely what I lacked when I was in school is just perspective. I was like, the world is so much larger, and even though it may seem like, the few people who are in school with you do not want to listen to you, there are so many people outside of that who will listen to you. One thing I can tell you too, from being a little bit older, I'm 22 now, is that when you're in high school, most kids are just dumb. Like that's just what it is. Like I was a dumb high school kid. Like I would have probably been mean to someone who was vegan. I would have probably made fun of them because I wouldn't have understood. And that's just how people are in high school. And you just have to realize that. Like if you right now, like you're in high school or if you're in middle school, you're vegan, and the people around you are not listening to you. Like it has nothing to do with them. You're just ahead of them. I'm not saying this to put other people down, but I'm just saying that, it's just true that when people are young, especially in the society we grew up in, the way that school socializes us to think about the world and think about our problems and so on and so forth. Like I've had people message me, be like, I tried showing my teacher this information, and maybe it's a biology teacher, and they're like, I tried showing them this information, and they're like, you're wrong, and all this kind of stuff. And and the biggest thing I tell you is, don't worry so much about that. I think, like I said, to kind of piggyback on the point I made earlier, it's so easy to worry about something when you feel like it's your whole world. People say this about their friend groups too. They're like, like a lot of my friends, or even your family, like my friends, my family, they don't like that I'm vegan, they don't let me be vegan, etc., etc. And the thing is, but the world is so much bigger than that. Mm-hmm. So, and the thing is too, like Hudson's in high school right now, but you're doing activism. And if you can get out there and really build a group of people around you who are going to support you, I would really encourage you to get involved in activism, or to go to vegan events and meet people who are like-minded, meet people who share your vision. Because if you do that, you'll find that a lot of your problems all of a sudden get solved. If you just change the people around you, just change the environment. And even though you don't change the physical environment around you, you can always change the environment in your head. So what I would say is, this is what I did when I was in high school, because I didn't vibe with the people in my high school at all. I wasn't vegan at the time, but I didn't get along with them. And I wanted to hang out with different types of people. So what I did was I would watch videos of people who I vibed with, watch videos of people that I want to learn from, people who are doing much better than me in life, people who are much older, who had a much wider perspective, who really were the type of people that I want to become like. And I just watched their videos all day, listened to their podcasts, and that's the environment I mentally put myself in. Because I just didn't want to be in the environment of high school. So that's what I would say. Realize that the world is much wider, and from there, recreate your environment so that you are around people who support you, and you are around people who are on your side.
Definitely. I fully agree. And honestly, I'm gonna say another thing. Just being around people twice a month is enough. I just do 2 cubes of truth a month. You don't have to, because so we're usually, you're doing activism like 5 events a day, like crushing it. It's awesome what you're doing. But anyway, I just want to also say that like for me, for example, I literally just do a cube of truth once every 2 weeks for 2 hours. And that right there, just being with like-minded people just for 2 hours is so powerful, and it really goes a long way. And just really just staying in that positive state when it comes and just really engaging with like-minded people. And so if you are receiving bullying, my best advice would be, I fully agree with that, getting involved in a community. And if if for whatever reason you have sports or whatever, you're finding tough to do that, my advice to you would be get involved with social media, because 90% of the people I talk with, I don't talk with in real life. I talk with on social media. Most vegans I talk with don't live in Southern California. Most of them are around the world, but we talk through Instagram and through Facebook. So that would be my advice to you as well. Maybe try to find a group of people on social media as well.
Yeah, and kind of like the last thing that I would leave you with is that you have much more power than you realize. Because I've had people message me about going on school trips, and they're like, you know what, I'm going on a school trip and they don't have any vegan food. And I want to be vegan, but they have no vegan food. I've talked to them. They won't let me bring my own food. There's only vegetarian food, et cetera, et cetera. And, I understand that there are rules and stuff like that, but also, perhaps you feel like because you're a student and they're the teachers, and perhaps the other people are your parents who are also not down with you being vegan, you don't have a say in what's going on. But I believe that you have way more power than you realize. See, this is what I didn't understand when I was in high school, which was that like high school I started to understand this, but high school, middle school, what I didn't understand was that, first of all, everything that happens now in your life is not a big deal. Like I literally thought that maybe you're a worse student than I am. I was a really good student. So, I, for example, thought that if I skipped class, it would be the end of the world. Like if I didn't show up to school one day, it would be the end of the world. What I'm realizing now is that it wouldn't have mattered at all. I could have skipped a bunch of days in school and literally nothing would have changed about my life. No one would care. Like at this point now, like 4 years later, my parents wouldn't care. None of my teachers would care. Like it doesn't matter.
Skip class?
but the point I'm getting at is that if you go up and create a ruckus around, hey, like I'm vegan, like this is what I want to do, and even though it becomes a big thing, nothing is going to happen to you. Like, because you might literally feel like if you really try to push this vegan thing and perhaps like bring your own food on the school trip. That's what I tell people when they ask me. I'm like, I would really go talk to them and explain to them. This is my first step. Like, I would really try to talk to them and explain to them why you're making this choice. Hey, I'm vegan because you know what? This is how this food is made, and I disagree with that. I don't want animals to suffer for me to eat my food. And I would honestly go tell the people who are in charge and be like, would you be able to get vegan food? Or perhaps if you can't find it yourself, and make it easy for them. So be like, I can buy it myself. Or I can tell you what to buy so you know exactly what to get for me. And if they're not okay with that, I'm just like, yo, just bring your own food. And like you might feel like, oh my God, if I bring my own food because it's against the rules, like something's gonna happen, but nothing's gonna happen. Like it's good, like literally the only thing that's gonna happen is that like 5 years down the line, you're gonna have an amazing story to tell about how like, oh yeah, I remember that time like they didn't want me to be vegan and I just brought my own food anyways, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, like I don't care. So really, you have much more power than you realize. And everything that happens now really doesn't matter as much as you think in the scope of your life. So really go all out and just make it happen.
Yeah, I do have a story to tell, because I was taking, so I ended up taking an extra elective my freshman year. So biology I had to take this past summer. And what happened is we were doing a pig dissection. And I initially told my teacher, hey, I'm not going to do this, but my teacher said, no, like there's no alternative, you have to do it. So then I was like, all right, fine, like I guess I'll have to do it, and or else, because it was a huge portion of the grade. So I'm like, all right, I got to do it. And I kept thinking about it, but I just never had the nerve to say anything. And I show up the day of the thing, and so it wasn't a waste, because it was in like groups of 4. So it wasn't like I got there and there was if that makes sense. But anyway, so what happened was I showed up and I got in like my group of 4, and we were gonna do a pig dissection. And right there, the pig's on the desk, and I say, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. And I drove all the way out to it, and I said, I'm not gonna do it. And my teacher said, well, that's too bad, you're gonna have to. And I said, I'm not gonna do it. And then my teacher said, all right, well, you're gonna get a 0. I'm like, okay. And then and then my teacher's like, okay, well let me talk to the principal, because that's gonna get into a big conflict. If she just gives someone a 0 for ethical reasons. So then the principal comes in and I say, hey, I really don't feel comfortable with this. And he said, oh, they're these pigs, they're donated from the most humane of farms, and it's really great. And I said, I'm sorry, I would not do this if this were a dog. I can't. This is something that really goes against my morals. And then he says, all right, well, let's take a look. So he opens up his computer, he Googles virtual pig dissection. First result comes up, the exact same thing, except you just like tap on it and it's like the video showing it. And then he's like, oh, okay, do this. And then I did that, and it took me like 20 minutes, and then I get to leave while everybody else is spending an extra like 4 hours dissecting this pig, and it smells disgusting. And then I learned all the stuff in 20 minutes from one Google search, and then I ended up getting 100 on the assignment. So anyway, the moral of the story is, as much as I literally waited till the last second. I was already there. The dead pig was on the table, and my group was already there, and I waited to the last minute. But now something that I've took from that is that, yeah, I mean, really you have, and we as high schoolers, we have a lot more power than we think, and we can, if we have the ability to stand for compassion and stand for kindness, even if it feels like our teachers control our aspects in some way.
Yeah, no, I think it's so key because they're not expecting it. Like they weren't expecting you to really stand for it. Like probably your teacher was like, just like, okay, I'll just tell this kid that he has to do it. The kid's gonna sit back down and be like, okay, I'll just do it then. And but they're not expecting you to really be like, hey, like I'm not gonna do it. Like if you roll up and you're like, hey, I'm not gonna eat your vegetarian food, I'm vegan, like I'm just not gonna do it, and you really stand for that, they're not gonna expect that. And if you're solutions oriented instead of like focusing on the problem, if you focus on finding solutions, be like, hey, I'm not gonna do this, but I'll work with you to find solutions, then you'll be surprised at how far you can get. Because this is not just a tip for you in school or whatever, this is just a tip in life, is to, when you really stand for what you believe in and you find solutions to solve the problems that are in the way, then you'll be amazed at how far you can get. Another thing we want to talk about is being active as an activist in high school. That's what Hudson's doing, because I get messages from people who ask me, for example, oh, am I too young to go to events? Or they're like, oh, like, I'm like, oh, you should get involved. And they're like, oh, but I'm in high school. And I'm like, so what? It doesn't matter. Because the thing that you'll see if you do get involved in activism is that the people in the activist community are so accepting. They're so kind. They're incredible people that no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter how old you are, it doesn't matter. You'll fit right in, because what binds us all together is our belief, is our being vegan, is our believing that animals shouldn't be exploited. And so when you join that group, you're able to associate yourself with people who share your beliefs and who share your vision. And like we said earlier, I really think it's going to be so empowering for you if you choose to do that.
Definitely. Yeah, I fully agree. I'm so thankful that I was able to get involved into activism and do activism while I'm still in high school. And my advice to you is, if you are in high school but you're afraid to be an activist, you're not sure what people are going to think, the first thing something I wish I knew so badly, because I wanted to, when I first started doing activism, like I remember I was just nervous when people were following me on Instagram. Like, every time I got a notification someone from my school followed me on Instagram, like I would just get so nervous. I'm like, oh shoot, like this, and I would change the way I did my posts. I would change my captions, because I'm like, oh shoot, I got people from school following me now. This is gonna be so awkward. And I would go into my classes the day after someone followed me on Instagram, and I would always expect that, okay, this is gonna be the time when someone just like roasts me, and someone just like people start freaking out and get like so upset with me or whatever. And what I have realized is that nobody cares. Nobody cares at all. And it might have something to do with how I'm like not at all like a popular person or anything, so it's like nobody really cares what I do anyway. Like that's for real. But when I am when people find my account, I was either expecting that people would like give me such a hard time, or I was honestly kind of expecting that, hey, maybe people might like go vegan for my stuff and say like, oh wow, I saw that stuff, those videos are so cool, because hey, I'd appreciate that, but what I have found is that nobody cares. Nowadays I've had like, I don't know, like 50, 60 people from my school find my account, and probably more, and literally I've gotten under under 6 or 7 times when someone actually comes up to me and says, hey, I really like your content, those videos are cool. And only like 2-3 times when someone says like, hey, I'm actually gonna start like looking into veganism.
Right.
Every other time, I'll be in class and I'll like wear a vegan T-shirt or I'll say something about veganism and someone's like, oh yeah, I saw your Instagram, like I saw that on the Explore page. Or like, nobody cares. People see it, they move on with their day because, especially in high school, like people are busy. People have their classes, their sports, their extracurriculars. 99.9% of people don't have time. Like what? They're gonna see your Instagram. They're gonna like think about that all day. Like they're gonna, it's like they're gonna think about that their entire weekend and go to school saying like, I saw your Instagram. Like nobody does that, and if people do that, that probably means if you are experiencing that and someone does really get on your case for finding your activism and knowing that you do activism, they're probably pretty jealous, and they probably wish that they could be. They probably wish that they could have something that they're passionate about while still in high school.
Right. Yeah, because people who get on other people who bully other people are. I'm trying to find the word that I would use, but they're not gonna win. Like it's not a winner mentality. Like picking on other people, talking bad about other people, or bullying other people, that's loser mentality. And winner mentality is, hey, let's all win together. So you have to realize that if people are trying to get on you, then they're basically irrelevant as far as you go, as far as the world goes, because those are the people like, and they might change, who knows, because I wasn't a bully in high school, but I wasn't like the nicest kid or whatever. I would have maybe kind of made fun of someone who was vegan, I don't know. But at that time, with that kind of mindset, I was not winning at life at all. So you have to realize that, when people bully you, it's not about you, it's about them. What we have to realize is that if people keep bullying us over the long term, then instead of blaming it on them, because that's victim thinking, one of the most important mindset shifts that you can make in your life is going from believing in yourself, like thinking about yourself as a victim, to thinking about yourself as being responsible. When you are saying, hey, people are bullying me, all the people, because you might say, that's great, Hudson, but like people in your high school are much nicer than mine high school. When you're saying that, you're being a victim to your circumstances, because you're saying, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me. Instead, if you start taking responsibility and think about, how am I perpetuating this? Because that's really what it is. Like, if you keep getting bullied, then you should think about what are you doing that allows you to keep getting bullied, and probably it's something along the lines of you're reacting to them. You're speaking back, you're being aggressive back. And when you're creating that confrontation, because a lot of people like confrontation, a lot of people are drawn to that. That's why debates are so popular on the internet, and people are just drawn to that. In the news, they have an expression that says, what bleeds leads. That means that when something is controversial, when something is like, like has this kind of like emotional punch that makes you feel angry or like something like that, people really resonate with that on a large scale. So the thing is, like, think about how are you creating that, and if you are creating that, then maybe stop creating that, stop reacting to people, and again, this might be easier said than done, but in a lot of cases, I think that's a big part of the answer is to stop reacting, stop creating the situation in which you are getting bullied, and instead take responsibility. Be like, you know what? All these people are saying this. I don't care. There are so many. Look, Ryuji and Hudson care about me. They're behind me. There are millions of people around the world who are 100% behind me, who would support me no matter what. Because that's the reality, is that there are so many of us. Like, there are us two right now. There are like 6 people behind the camera who are probably waiting for us to finish shooting this video. And we all support you. We're all 100% there to support you. If you ever want support too, you can DM all of us basically. You can DM me. You can DM Hudson. Just message us, get in touch with us, and we're always willing to talk to you, because that's what we're here for. And there are so many people in the world who really care about you, who really would never make fun of you, and who really just want to hang out with you and be friends with you. So, that's kind of what I would leave you with.
One more thing that I want to add is that something that I wasn't too sure about when I was getting involved in activism is how, so I never saw another person under the age of 21, 20 doing activism, and something that's really that I was really surprising, but actually what I've found has been so great about the vegan community is how 99% of my friend group of vegan activists are in their like 30s and their like mid 20s, or like Ryuji, you're probably like the youngest you're probably like, I'm one of the youngest vegan activists who I'm friends with. It's really cool. I was just in Salt Lake City, Utah for the Animal Liberation Western Convergence, and we were at dinner, and it was like me, like Enzo, who's like 27, and Jesus, who's in his 20s or 30s, and then just it was me and the entire table of people all the way up into their 40s. Like I was sitting at one of the days. It was like we went out to lunch and went around the town and got good vegan food. It was me, like a 39-year-old, like a 40-year-old, and two like 30-year-olds and like a 20-year-old, and then there's just me, and the age gap doesn't feel at all strange. It doesn't even feel, we don't even think about it, because we have this one thing that we're so passionate about that binds us together so strongly. So if that's something that you're not too sure about, people, if there's no vegans your age, veganism, the passion that we all have as activists for creating animal liberation goes beyond any age barrier, and that's something that I've learned. That's something that I'm really grateful for, is how the vegan community is just so welcoming, and nobody cares that how I'm in high school and 17. Like they don't change their like. I found that's just super cool.
Yeah, and also for you, hanging out with older people is a good idea. When I was in high school, a majority of my friends were way older than me. Still today, a lot of my friends are older than me. I put myself around people who are older than me, not because of the age thing, but it's more of an experience thing, a life experience thing. And hanging out with people who have more life experience than you is always a good idea. So I would really urge you to do that. Just in life in general, it's probably a better idea for you to hang out with people who have more life experience, who are perhaps vegan, and put yourself around that friend group and focus on that rather than focus on all the people in your high school, because like I said, they're dumb kids. All right, so I think we're gonna end the video right here. Hope you got some insight from this. We really appreciate you watching this video. If you have any other questions, drop them in the comments. I will make sure to get back to you, maybe make a video about it. You can DM any of us at any time. We're always here to support you. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Have any final thoughts?
That's about it. My last thing would just be, if you're worried about going vegan in high school, if you're worried about doing activism, what it really comes down to at the end of the day, okay, to some 15-second summary of this video, it's all about valuing other people's opinions, whether or not you're going to choose to value someone else's opinion. And to be honest, you have to ask yourself the question, do I really care about what Susan in my math class thinks about me being vegan or me being an activist? And at the end of the day, if you truly don't care at the end of the day, then get involved and just do it. And I'm still working on this myself, because it's still nerve-wracking. I'm still working on trying not to value other people's opinions. So that would be my advice to you.